So if you could just kind of describe for me what exactly you do on film work.
Oh, well, we do previs and post-viz. So, or should I look at the camera, or do you care? Or?
You can look at me, that's fine.
Okay, so we do previs and post-viz primarily, which involves getting anything from a script or a beat sheet, or sometimes boards will have been drawn out, and then we just go through a prototyping process of bringing that in, recreating the assets, the camera, the lenses, and then just trying to create a cool action sequence out of it. And then we go into iterations and revisions with the director and the DP, production designer, visual effects supervisor, and just try to hash out a really cool action sequence.
Yeah.
You know?
And is that done with computers?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all computer at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be done with little, scale models and like little lipstick cameras and models and stuff that you would try to
Star
shoot.
Wars days.
Right, exactly. But now it's way better to do it to you digitally, because you have so much more control over everything.
Right. Can you tell me a little bit about your involvement with the Aquaman movie?
Sure. So for Aquaman, they had a very tight shooting schedule, and they had been, how do I say this? They had a tight shooting schedule, and there was this, the ending scene was just, all right, I'm going to start over and try to say this in a way that doesn't sound bad.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
No, you're good.
Mr. McCoy.
What's going on?
Good to see you.
So, so when we were brought onto Aquaman, the main challenge was just to get the ending sequence looking really good, which was, this massive underwater battle. And they had something that they quickly put together, but they didn't really have the time to polish it. So they gave it to us, and Jim Burney, the VFX supervisor, kind of brought us into the room, and he showed it to us, and he's like, okay, look, we need to make this really amazing. And we're going to need to come up with some really great ideas and figure this out. So I'd love it if you guys could just, take a holiday, go out to Joshua Tree, just smoke something, and then come back and then just do something, come up with some great ideas.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just went off and just started brainstorming stuff. The whole team just got together and was spitballing. We got a board artist in, kind of coming up with stuff. We were animating shots on the side, and then we started coming up with little mini edits of sequences of just cool action that could be interesting with these, these massive ships just battling underwater. I mean, it's like, it's like Star Wars underwater, or like
right.
it was almost like, what do you call it? Like Lord of the Rings. It's like Lord of the Rings underwater.
Yeah,
with
and
these
they're storming the castle.
Yeah, and ballistas are flying, and there's laser fire. So
battle sequence
it was really hard to conceptualize and to figure out strategically, like where the different forces are coming from. How the Karathan enters into it, making sure that you don't get totally lost, even though I'm sure it happens, but whatever. As long as the story is being driven and the narrative is kind of going on and it's interesting and intriguing, we were just trying to stitch that together enough that we could come up with some cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that sequence is super intense.
Yeah.
You got the trench, you got Aquaman, you got, the giant sea creature. Yeah. All happening at the same time, all underwater. And
what I was always amazed about that sequence was that the elements of an attack can happen from any direction in water. Mm-hmm. You're not bound by the physics above water.
Right.
Yeah, so
it's like a space sequence.
It's how do you make sense of just unlimited options?
Yeah, the directions you could come from underneath or above or wherever. Initially it wasn't one sequence. It was sort of the trench. It was a separate sequence where they were going to attack the trench, and I'm sorry, not the trench, the brine. It was originally a scene where they were bringing all the armies up with the brine to confront them and to get them. And so there was this whole extra action sequence there, and then later all of the armies were fighting the Karathan, and they were like, now let's just shove all this together and make it that much more exciting. And so some of the shots we just went back into and figured out ways of getting cool action bits from the previous sequence into the new sequence, trying to get more real character moments into it than were originally shot. And so then we were able to come up with some cool moments where we could go back and do some reshoots to put it back into the plate. Just really quickly, just trying to iterate with the editor, the effects supervisor, and the director. And he brought in more storyboard artists, and everyone was just trying to like cobble together a cool sequence.
Absolutely.
So,
Literally like running up the stairs and asking for a shot, running away.
Yeah.
Hey,
running over
fill
with
this
the
gap, I need this shot.
Let's have this thing go by and that happen. And
Right.
And that's also the big kiss scene too, right?
It is.
Oh yeah.
The Womb of Love.
One of those close-ups in the midst of all the magic.
Of the carnage. Yeah.
The carnage.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We joked about having some parts of like dead fish and stuff just flying through and hitting them as they were kissing. But we thought it might be
Glowing
much.
jellyfish,
got enough romantic.
twinkles
Right.
fish. So did you have any involvement directly with the actors in filming this stuff, or was it?
Not well, secondhand. We would help come up and design the shots that would then be that they would do for reshoots. So we would say like, oh, here would be really great if we had a shot moving up the Karathin, and then he was on the top of it, and then we would send that along, and the effects supervisor would break it down and realize that they needed this camera equipment and this green screen about this size, and then they would go and shoot it and then give it back to us, and then we would composite it really quick into the previs that we already done, so we could see how it's all working together.
Would you get any feedback from the actors, or was it all coming from?
If we
James
did,
Wan
it was
other people?
it was indirectly going to James Wan, and he was filtering it back to us. Or directly going to James Wan, but indirectly coming back to us.
Yeah. Cool. Were you surprised that the Aquaman movie crossed the $1 billion mark?
Yes. But it was great.
Take that, Marvel!
I mean, it was a lot of fun to work on, so I'm really happy that it was received so well.
Yeah, and I think it was marketed very well, too.
Yeah.
What drew you to this kind of work? Was there something that happened early on, or just kind of fell into it?
Yeah. There's not really anything in particular. I mean, I kind of knew that I really liked computers, really liked art. When I was in middle school, really, I started getting into doing CG, and then went to a trade school, and then got hired at Halon. Right after, like 6 months after I got out of college, I got hired at Halon, and I've been here for like 13 years.
Nice.
So it's just been really fun because you just keep going from one project to the other, new challenges, new things you got to research and know about, but you're constantly just trying to make cool shit. So it's fun.
Is there anybody in the industry that you look up to doing the same kind of work that you're doing?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it's hard to say. There's no like specific role model or specific person, as much as I just try to learn from everyone that we work with. So yeah, I don't have a great answer for that one.
And what projects do you have coming up after this?
We have a number of projects, none of which can be revealed. However, we're working with Fox. We're working with Warner Brothers.
What are you doing for Warner Brothers?
We've got things. Do a lot of things
Can't
with
talk
them.
about maybe
Don't talk about
Aquaman
it.
2?
Can't talk about it, unfortunately.
Can't confirm or deny. But no, a lot of cool stuff. We did some work on Ad Astra and Ford versus Ferrari. Of the projects we can't say, yeah. And those look really good. They should be good movies, so I'm excited for that.
And Richard, can you tell me a little bit about what your involvement on Aquaman was?
I was the previs producer on the show.
And what does that mean?
What it means is when you get a call for a project, you get some reference, you talk to their creatives, You find out what they need, and then you assess the time impact the team needed to pull off the magic trick that they need to pull off in whatever calendar they needed. So it's my job to put all those pieces together, assemble the right team, and then oversee it over the course of the calendar to make sure that we're hitting benchmarks. It's a very small part of it's a very small, less fun part of the
It is
process.
absolutely
for sure.
necessary.
But if you don't do your job, it falls apart.
That's correct. Yeah.
It would, yes.
It sounds like, from what he was saying, that it was a very tight schedule on Aquaman.
We did a lot of work in a short amount of time.
We did. I mean, Aquaman, it was more of the production had a very tight schedule.
Yeah.
But I think we came in at a good time, and the visual effects supervisor understood that we needed a little bit of room to explore and to invent. And so he allowed that to happen regardless of what else was happening, what other chaos was going on.
That ended up working out really well.
And it worked out really well. And yeah.
Because that's a luxury we don't normally get. Time to go away and kind of incubate just creatively ourselves away from whatever noise that creative, editorial, everyone on the show has already created. Being able to go to boards, and we took time to write out outlines and charts and to really figure it out. So that was a lot of fun, early bit of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, with so much CGI in that film,
Yes.
a lot of work.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
And what do you
That's
have
fun
coming
work.
up? Anything
well,
you can talk about?
Well, I oversee all the shows at Halon, so I have the same restrictions as Ryan does. Most recent work that we can talk about is at Astra. This spring, that comes out.
Also the game stuff.
Yeah, we have game stuff as well. Ford versus Ferrari, it's another film that we did with James Mangold, comes out in November. Super excited about. We have some stuff coming out in the fall for Disney. But at the moment, we are doing. We recently did a trailer for Borderlands 3. We announced a trailer for 3. We may or may not be doing another one. There are other cinematics for other video game franchises that are in the mix right now. This gentleman right here directing one, which is going to be moving in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe
excited
less than
for
that.
it. It's looking pretty
I
good.
just padded your production calendar right here in real time.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you, so to not make you anxious.
And no pressure on that Borderlands 3 trailer or anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
too anticipated.
We've been working with that show, and we've been helping with various assets for their campaigns for the entire year now. So we're deep into it.
The little claptrap sketches and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was all really fun.
stuff to come that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
Zach's show.
Sure. Yeah.
So this time next year we'll have a lot to talk about for sure.
Thank you, Tim.
Sure.
Thank you.